Hey, guys, tonight, we're not going to be charging into battle or solving ancient riddles. Instead, we're going to step back in time to an era where nobility found profound peace and purpose in a rather unique pursuit, medieval falconry. It's an art form that speaks of patience, quiet observation, and a deep connection to the natural world far removed from the clang of swords or the roar of castle sieges. We're going to explore not the dramatic flourishes, but the subtle art, the gentle nuances, and why this particular form of hunting was seen as a truly refined and almost meditative practice. So as you settle in, dim the lights, maybe close your eyes, and let's ease into the calm, hushed world of medieval falconry. You might find yourself drifting off before our feathered friends even take flight. You imagine the crisp, cool air of a medieval morning, mist still clinging to the meadows, and the distant call of a solitary bird. Not a harsh cry, but a keen, almost musical note. This was the sound that often accompanied the dawn for a medieval falconer. Unlike the loud, boisterous hunts with hounds and horns, falconry was an exercise in quiet subtlety. It was a partnership between human and raptor, built on trust and painstaking patience, a world where the slightest gesture or whispered command held immense meaning. You picture a lord or lady not in shining armor, but perhaps in rich yet understated hunting attire, a magnificent bird perched calmly on their gloved wrist. This serene image belies the profound skill and dedication required. Mainstream historical fact. Falconry or hawking was a highly esteemed aristocratic sport and practical hunting method across Europe, the Middle East, and Asia, for centuries, reaching its zenith in the medieval period. It wasn't just a pastime. It was deeply interwoven with social hierarchy and even diplomacy. A quirky tidbit is that medieval texts often prescribed specific types of falcons for different social classes, with emperors and kings flying the most powerful gyrfalcons, while yeomen might only be permitted kestrels. Historians still argue whether these rules were strictly enforced legal codes or more general social conventions. But as you listen, you just feel the quiet dignity of the practice, the almost sacred bond between handler and hawk. Beyond the immediate goal of catching quarry falconry was a profound display of refined skill and status. It wasn't about brute force. It was about finesse, about understanding the intricate instincts of a wild creature and channeling them into a harmonious pursuit. Imagine the immense patience required to train a wild bird of prey, transforming its innate hunting prowess into a collaborative effort. This wasn't a pet. It was a partner, one that could sever ties and fly free at any moment. The bond was fragile, built on mutual respect and consistent, gentle handling. You can almost feel the gentle pressure of a falcon's talons, not clutching tightly, but resting, trusting your arm as a perch. This art was passed down through generations, a silent language understood by those who dedicated their lives to it. It spoke volumes about the owner without a single word being uttered. A well-trained falcon flying gracefully against the backdrop of an autumn sky was a living testament to the falconer's discipline, wealth, and understanding of the natural world. It was a subtle flex centuries before flex became a thing. You imagine a quiet nod of approval from a fellow nobleman, understanding the years of dedication represented by the flawless return of a majestic bird. You're still breathing in that crisp medieval air, and now you're picturing the meticulous training that forged the extraordinary bond between a medieval falconer and their bird. This wasn't a process of breaking a wild creature. It was a subtle, almost whispered negotiation building trust one patient moment at a time. Imagine handling a bird of prey that just weeks before was soaring, wild, and free. The first step was always manning the gentle, prolonged process of accustoming the falcon to human presence. This involved simply holding the bird often for hours on end, day and night, speaking softly, offering tiny pieces of meat from the hand. You feel the steady weight of the bird on your gloved fist, its sharp eyes watching your every move, slowly learning to trust. The falconer's voice was key, a constant, soothing murmur, never loud, never sudden. You'd speak in low tones, perhaps humming, creating a familiar, comforting soundscape for the bewildered bird. This was a direct contrast to the loud commands given to hounds in ground hunts. It was about creating a sense of safety and predictability in a new, strange world. The bird learned that the human presence meant food safety and ultimately flight. Mainstream historical fact. The hood was an indispensable tool in falconry training, used to keep the bird calm and prevent it from being overstimulated. It was a gentle method of control, allowing the falconer to introduce the bird to new environments gradually. A quirky tidbit, some medieval falconers would even sleep with their newly acquired birds perched next to their beds to further accustom the falcon to human presence and foster a deep bond. Historians still argue whether this practice was primarily about habituation or if it was believed to transfer some subtle energy or spirit from the falconer to the bird. But you can almost feel the quiet breathing of the bird next to you, a testament to that intimate training. After manning came the lure training. The lure was a piece of leather or wood often decorated with feathers and swung by the falconer. It simulated prey and was a crucial tool for recall. You'd imagine the rhythmic swing of the lure, its gentle whistle through the air signaling to the falcon that a reward was imminent. This wasn't about forcing the bird to return. It was about enticing it, making the return to the falconer's hand more appealing than continued pursuit of wild quarry. It's like teaching a dog to come when called, but with vastly higher stakes and a creature capable of incredible aerial feats. The training progressed slowly from short flights to longer ones, gradually introducing the bird to its purpose. There were never harsh punishments, only consistent reinforcement and quiet encouragement. A startled or frightened falcon was a lost falcon. So patience was the falconer's greatest virtue and trust the most precious reward. You feel the satisfaction of watching your falcon, a creature of wild instincts, circle back to your outstretched arm, its talons gently finding their perch, a testament to weeks, even months of dedicated quiet work. This profound bond, built not on dominance, but on understanding, was truly the subtle heart of medieval falconry. You're still breathing in that serene, cold morning air, and now you're witnessing the culmination of all that gentle training, the hawking flight itself. This isn't a chaotic chase, but a ballet of precision and instinct, often unfolding in profound silence. You stand in a wide open meadow or on a windswept hill, the silence broken only by the whisper of the wind and the subtle shift of feathers on your arm. The falcon, now unhooded, surveys the vast expanse, its keen eyes piercing the distance. The beauty of hawking lay in its controlled grace. Unlike the thunderous commotion of a deer hunt, a falconry outing involved minimal noise. The falconer would silently observe, perhaps with a quiet gesture, releasing the bird only when suitable prey was spotted. You imagine the sudden explosive burst of power as the falcon launches from your arm, a feathered arrow streaking across the sky, its powerful wings, beating the air with a soft whoosh. Mainstream historical fact: the phrase "waiting on" refers to a specific and highly valued falconry technique, where the falcon circles high above the falconer, anticipating the flushing of prey. This demonstrated immense training and trust between bird and human. A quirky tidbit is that the most prized falcons could reach speeds over 200 miles per hour in a dive, making them the fastest creatures on Earth. Yet their entire hunt could unfold with astonishing quietude. Historians still argue whether the primary appeal of watching a falcon hunt was the pragmatic capture of food or the aesthetic beauty of the aerial display. But as you watch, you feel the silent intensity of the hunt, a primal drama playing out in the vast canvas of the sky. The hunt itself was a series of swift, silent maneuvers. The falcon would climb higher, circling, gaining altitude, its focus absolute. Below, the falconer might use a quiet dog, often a spaniel, to flush out the quarry, a partridge from the tall grass, a rabbit from a thicket. There's no shouting, no loud commands, just subtle whistles or hand signals. You hear the rustle of the dog moving through the undergrowth, and then the sudden flurry of wings as the prey bursts forth. Then the stoop. This was the breathtaking dive of the falcon, a plummeting blur of feathers and focused intent. It's almost too fast to follow a silent, deadly precision that speaks of aeons of evolutionary perfection. The impact, when it came, was often heard as a soft thud or sometimes no sound at all, just the sight of the falcon clasping its prey. It's a moment of raw, untamed nature, yet guided by the subtle hand of human training. After the successful capture, the falconer would approach not to take the kill immediately, but to gently put in the falcon, allowing it to begin feeding, rewarding its effort. Then carefully, the falconer would retrieve the quarry, offering a generous portion of meat as a reward. This was crucial for maintaining the bond and ensuring the falcon's willingness to return. It's a respectful exchange, a recognition of the bird's extraordinary contribution. The beauty of hawking, you realize, lay in this quiet understanding, this dance between human intention and wild instinct, all under the vast, silent canvas of the open sky. You're observing the silent dance of the hawking flight, and now your attention shifts to the specialized items clutched in the falconer's hand or carefully arranged in their pouch. These weren't ostentatious displays, but practical, often beautifully crafted instruments that were essential to the subtle art of medieval falconry. Each piece spoke of centuries of accumulated knowledge, designed for quiet effectiveness and the delicate handling of a bird of prey. You feel the smooth leather of the glove, the cool metal of the bells in your mind's eye. First, the falconer's glove, often thick and well padded, made from sturdy leather. This wasn't just about protecting the hand from sharp talons, but about providing a stable, comfortable perch for the bird. It was the primary point of contact, the silent bridge between human and raptor. You imagine the worn, supple leather molded to the hand, a testament to countless hours spent with the bird. It's like the perfectly broken-in tool that fits just right. Then there were the jesses, short straps of leather attached to the bird's legs with a swivel and a leash. The jesses allowed the falconer to hold the bird securely on the glove, or to a perch, preventing it from flying away accidentally. The swivel was crucial, preventing the leash from tangling around the bird's legs during movement. This wasn't about confinement, but about control and safety for the bird when it wasn't flying freely. You feel the supple leather of the jesses, imagining their quiet effectiveness. Mainstream historical fact. The practice of attaching small bells to a falcon's legs was widespread in medieval falconry. These were not merely decorative. Their gentle tinkling allowed the falconer to locate the bird when it landed in dense cover or after a stoop, even when it was out of sight. A quirky tidbit is that the quality of the bells, their tone and craftsmanship, could be a subtle status symbol among falconers. Historians still argue whether the bells also served a secondary purpose of disorienting the prey, or if their primary function was purely locational. But you hear the faint, delicate chime of the bells, a quiet melody against the backdrop of the natural world. The hood, as we discussed, was a delicate, fitted leather cap used to cover the falcon's eyes, keeping it calm and quiet when not in flight. It was a humane way to manage the bird's high-strung nature, allowing it to rest and preventing it from being spooked by sudden movements or distractions. You imagine the soft, smooth interior of the hood gently enclosing the bird's sharp vision, bringing it to a state of serene repose. And of course, the lure, a piece of leather or wood shaped like a bird, adorned with feathers, and often with a piece of meat attached. This was the most important training tool for recall, teaching the bird to return to the falconer's hand for reward. You picture the falconer swinging the lure, a slow, rhythmic motion, a silent signal that promises sustenance and reinforces the bond. Less obvious, but equally vital, were the small, quiet implements for daily care, tiny scales for precise weighing of the bird, critical for maintaining its ideal hunting weight, and specialized knives for preparing the meat. These were tools of precision, reflecting the meticulous attention to detail required in falconry. The entire toolkit, you realize, was designed for a quiet, subtle interaction, never for force or coercion. It was a testament to the belief that the greatest control over a wild creature came not from dominance, but from understanding and gentle cultivation. As you appreciate the quiet tools of the falconer, your mind now shifts to the meticulous, almost ritualistic daily care that defined the relationship with these magnificent birds. This wasn't a casual commitment. It was a profound dedication requiring constant, gentle attention. Imagine waking before dawn, not to the clamor of the stable, but to the soft rustle of feathers in the mews, the quiet presence of your bird awaiting your care. The most critical aspect of daily care was weight management. A falcon's hunting prowess was directly tied to its precise weight. Too heavy, and it would be sluggish, uninterested in the hunt. Too light, and it would be weak, unable to perform effectively. Falconers meticulously weighed their birds every day, using small, precise scales adjusting their food intake down to the smallest morsel. You picture the careful, steady hand on the scale, the quiet concentration in the falconer's eyes, ensuring the delicate balance of their partner's health. It's like a medieval nutritionist, but for a very picky, very high-performance athlete. Feeding was another gentle ritual. The falconer would prepare small, bite-sized pieces of fresh meat, often raw, which were offered to the bird by hand. This direct contact reinforced the bond of trust established during training. You feel the soft brush of the falcon's beak against your fingers as it delicately takes the offering a moment of profound connection. This wasn't about simply throwing food into a bowl. It was an intimate act of nourishment and trust. Mainstream historical fact imping was a vital technique in falconry involving the repair of broken or damaged feathers by grafting new ones onto the existing shaft. This delicate procedure was often performed by specialized imping irons and demonstrates the immense value placed on a falcon's feathers. A quirky tidbit is that falconers would often keep a supply of spare feathers from healthy birds, or even from birds that had died naturally, specifically for imping. Historians still argue whether the practice of imping was seen as a purely practical necessity, or if there was a deeper, almost spiritual significance to restoring the bird's natural perfection. You imagine the delicate precision of the falconer carefully restoring a damaged feather, ensuring the bird's continued ability to soar. Beyond feeding, there was the constant attention to the bird's general well-being. Its feathers had to be meticulously checked for damage, its talons and beak carefully maintained. Bathing was also a crucial part of their routine, offering both hygiene and a source of quiet pleasure for the bird. You picture a shallow basin of fresh water, the falcon dipping its head, ruffling its feathers, a moment of serene contentment. The mews, the specialized housing for the falcons, also required meticulous, quiet attention. They were kept clean, dry, and free from drafts, providing a safe and calm environment for the birds to rest and digest. You imagine the hushed atmosphere of the mews, the soft cooing or clicking sounds of the resting birds, a sanctuary dedicated to these magnificent creatures. Every interaction was designed to be quiet, predictable, and reassuring. A sudden movement, a loud noise, a mist feeding any deviation could set back weeks of training. This constant, gentle dedication fostered a profound respect for the bird's wild nature, creating a partnership built on mutual understanding rather than forced submission. This deep level of care, you realize, was the very essence of the subtle art of medieval falconry, ensuring not just a hunter, but a thriving, trusted companion. You're now drifting with the quiet understanding of a falconer's daily devotion, and your thoughts turn to the diverse feathered friends that filled the medieval skies. Not all raptors were created equal in the eyes of a falconer, and each species held a unique role, valued for its specific hunting style and disposition. It's like appreciating different types of artists, each with their own unique talents and temperament. First, the majestic gerfalcon, often reserved for kings and emperors due to its rarity and immense power. These large Arctic birds were prized for hunting large waterfowl and even small deer. You imagine their pure white or mottled gray plumage against a stark northern sky, a formidable and silent hunter. Their stoop was legendary, a plummeting force of nature. Owning one was not just about hunting. It was a profound statement of wealth and authority, a visible display of royal leisure. Then came the noble peregrine falcon, the quintessential falconer's bird revered for its incredible speed and aerial prowess. Peregrines were the masters of the aerial chase, stooping at astonishing speeds to catch pigeons, ducks, and other birds in mid-flight. You picture a peregrine, sleek and powerful, a living dart in the sky, a blur of focused energy. Their hunting was an aerial ballet, a breathtaking display of precision and agility. Mainstream historical fact: hawks accipitridae, family like goshawks and sparrowhawks, were also commonly used in medieval falconry, differing from true falcons in their hunting style. Hawks are short-winged and are typically flown from the fist to pursue prey in dense cover, making them ideal for hunting game birds and rabbits in wooded areas. A quirky tidbit: the term haggard for a wild, untamed bird originates from falconry, referring to an adult wild-caught hawk that is particularly difficult to train. Historians still argue whether the distinct preferences for falcons over hawks among the nobility were purely due to differing hunting styles, or if there was a social element tied to the open-sky hunts of falcons versus the more concealed hunts of hawks. You can almost feel the difference in their presence, the falcon poised for the open sky, the hawk ready for the quick, silent burst through the trees. The goshawk, a powerful, short-winged hawk, was a favorite for hunting in woodlands. Its broad wings and long tail allowed it to maneuver swiftly through trees, making it ideal for pursuing pheasants, partridges, and rabbits that sought refuge in dense cover. You envision a goshawk bursting from the falconer's glove, a silent, powerful shadow weaving through the branches, its focused eyes locked on its quarry. Their hunting style was about ambush and speed in confined spaces, a different kind of quiet efficiency. Smaller raptors, like the sparrowhawk, were used for hunting smaller birds, often by ladies or less affluent falconers. Even the diminutive kestrel, though less powerful, was sometimes kept admired for its hovering ability and grace. These smaller birds still required immense dedication and provided a gentler introduction to the art for aspiring falconers. Each bird had its particular temperament and training needs. Some were more tractable, others fiercely independent. The true art of the falconer lay in understanding these individual differences, tailoring their approach to each bird rather than applying a rigid system. It was about recognizing the unique spirit of each feathered partner and cultivating a harmonious relationship. This nuanced understanding, this quiet appreciation for the individual characteristics of each bird truly underscores the gentle art of medieval falconry, revealing a profound respect for these wild, majestic hunters. You're now envisioning the gentle dance of various raptors in the medieval skies, and your thoughts turn to how this refined practice extended beyond the hunt itself, becoming a quiet yet powerful instrument of royal diplomacy and a symbol of leisure. Falconry wasn't merely a hobby for the elite. It was an integral part of courtly life, a sophisticated form of entertainment, and a silent language spoken between powerful rulers. You imagine kings and queens, not in their throne rooms, but out in the open air, their birds soaring above. Picture a medieval court not confined within castle walls, but out in the open countryside, attending a royal hunt. These weren't just about bagging game. They were elaborate spectacles, opportunities for monarchs to display their wealth, power, and mastery over nature. The presence of a vast retinue, including a highly skilled falconer and a magnificent array of birds, spoke volumes about the host's status. You hear the quiet flutter of hundreds of bells, the hushed anticipation of the courtiers as the falcons are prepared for flight. Mainstream historical fact. Medieval monarchs often exchanged falcons as diplomatic gifts, seeing these birds as immensely valuable and prestigious presents that fostered goodwill and solidified alliances between kingdoms. This practice was particularly common between European and Middle Eastern rulers, reflecting a shared appreciation for the art. A quirky tidbit is that the gifting of a particularly rare or well-trained gyrfalcon could signify a diplomatic breakthrough or a strong bond between ruling families more powerful than any treaty. Historians still argue whether the value of these gifts was primarily monetary, or if their symbolic weight as living embodiments of power and skill held greater significance. You can almost feel the weight of such a gift, a living symbol of trust and respect. Imagine a visiting dignitary being treated to a grand hawking display. It wasn't just entertainment. It was a subtle demonstration of control and harmony. The ability to manage such wild and powerful creatures spoke to the ruler's own authority and their capacity to maintain order within their realm. The graceful precision of the birds, the silent communication between falconer and raptor, it all projected an image of refined power far more impressive than a loud military parade. It's like hosting a master chef where the subtle flavors and presentation speak more powerfully than any boast. Beyond diplomacy, falconry was also a fundamental aspect of royal leisure. For monarchs constantly embroiled in political intrigue and warfare, the quiet pursuit of falconry offered a unique form of escape and contemplation. It was a chance to connect with nature, to engage in a skilled pursuit that demanded focus and patience, drawing them away from the pressures of court. You envision a king perhaps weary from council meetings, finding solace in the rhythmic flight of his peregrine, his mind clearing with each silent stoop. The entire experience was often accompanied by quiet observation, reflective moments that transcended the simple act of hunting. The vastness of the sky, the intricate instincts of the birds, the raw beauty of the natural world. All these elements contributed to a meditative quality. It was a form of active mindfulness long before the term was coined. The success of the hunt, while important, was often secondary to the grace of the flight and the quiet communion between human and bird. This blend of subtle power, refined skill, and contemplative leisure made falconry an indispensable part of medieval royal life. It wasn't just a sport, it was a silent language, a diplomatic tool, and a source of profound personal peace. And as you feel the gentle descent into deeper relaxation, you sense how these quiet, nuanced pursuits offered respite and meaning in a world often dominated by louder, more overt expressions of power. You're drifting deeper into the quiet world of medieval falconry, and now your focus shifts to the serene and functional spaces where these magnificent birds spent their resting hours the muse. These weren't just cages. They were purpose-built sanctuaries designed with meticulous care to provide a calm, secure, and healthy environment for the falcons. You imagine stepping into one of these quiet enclosures, perhaps sensing the hushed reverence within. A mews was typically a well-constructed, often stone or timber, building sometimes attached to a castle or manor, but usually set slightly apart to ensure quiet. The interior was spacious, allowing the birds to move freely and stretch their wings without damaging their precious feathers. You envision smooth walls, perhaps whitewashed, ensuring cleanliness and reflecting any available light. The air inside would be clean and fresh, carefully managed to avoid drafts that could harm the delicate birds. The most prominent features within a mews were the perches. These weren't just simple rods. They were carefully designed to protect the falcon's feet and feathers, often covered in soft material like felt or jute. They allowed the bird to grip comfortably without damaging its talons. Some perches were also circular, allowing the bird to turn freely without its tail feathers scraping against the wall. You picture a series of these perches, each occupied by a quiet hooded bird, patiently awaiting its next flight. Mainstream historical fact. The term mews itself originated from the medieval practice of keeping falcons there during their molting period, when they shed their old feathers and grew new ones. This was a critical time of vulnerability for the birds, requiring a safe and undisturbed environment. A quirky tidbit, some elaborate medieval mews might even have had small, shallow pools of water for the falcons to bathe in, allowing them to keep their feathers in pristine condition naturally. Historians still argue whether the design of the mews was driven solely by practical considerations for the bird's health, or if there was a deeper aesthetic or symbolic importance placed on providing a regal residence for these prized creatures. But as you visualize it, you feel the quiet dedication that went into crafting such a space. Lighting in the mews was usually subdued. While natural light was important, direct, harsh sunlight was often avoided. The aim was to create a consistent, peaceful environment that encouraged rest and minimized stress. You imagine the soft, filtered light perhaps from high windows or strategically placed vents casting a gentle glow on the resting birds. Cleanliness was paramount. Falconers were meticulous about keeping the mews spotless, regularly removing droppings and ensuring fresh water was always available. A clean environment was essential for preventing disease and maintaining the bird's overall health. This constant, quiet work spoke of the immense value placed on these birds both as hunting partners and as symbols of their owner's prestige. Beyond the physical structure, the mews was a place of quiet observation for the falconer. It was where they would spend time simply being with their birds, watching their subtle behaviors, assessing their health and mood. This quiet communion fostered an even deeper understanding and bond between human and raptor. It's like a quiet meditation where simply being present with another living creature brings a sense of calm. The mews, then, was more than just a place to house falcons. It was a testament to the respect and profound care that defined medieval falconry. It was a space of serenity, where the wild spirit of the raptor was gently nurtured, allowing it to rest and prepare for its majestic flights. And as you feel the quiet of this ancient sanctuary, you sense yourself drawn into the peaceful stillness. You're now cradled in the quiet peace of the mews, and your attention shifts to the unwritten code that governed the subtle art of medieval falconry. This wasn't just a list of rules. It was a philosophy, a set of ethical considerations that guided every interaction between the falconer and their magnificent bird. It was about respecting the wild nature of the raptor, even as it was trained for partnership. You sense the profound moral compass that steered these ancient practices far removed from mere sport. At its heart, the code was one of respect for the bird. A true falconer understood that the bird was not a slave, but a partner. Force was rarely used, and harsh punishments were detrimental to the training process. Instead, patience, consistency, and a deep understanding of raptor psychology were paramount. The bond was built on trust, which, once broken, was incredibly difficult to mend. You imagine the falconer speaking to their bird in low, reassuring tones, always gentle, always predictable. Another crucial aspect was the ethical treatment of the quarry. While falconry was a form of hunting, it wasn't about wanton slaughter. The kill was swift and efficient, reflecting the natural predatory instincts of the falcon. There was often a sense of reverence for the life, taken a recognition of the cycle of predator and prey in the natural world. This was hunting as a precise, almost surgical art, not a chaotic melee. It's like a chef, respecting every ingredient that goes into a meal, understanding its source and journey. Mainstream historical fact. The practice of entering a young falcon, where it was first introduced to actual prey, was done with immense care, and often involved ensuring the initial kills were swift and successful to build the bird's confidence and natural hunting drive. This wasn't just about training, but about fostering the bird's well-being and success. A quirky tidbit is that falconers would sometimes dedicate specific falcons to specific types of quarry understanding, that each bird might excel at hunting certain game, further reflecting this nuanced approach to hunting ethics. Historians still argue whether the medieval falconry code was primarily driven by practical considerations for successful hunting, or if it genuinely reflected a nascent form of animal welfare ethics. But you feel the quiet dignity of the interaction, a respect for the natural order. The code also encompassed the conservation of the wild stock. Responsible falconers understood the importance of not overhunting areas, ensuring that prey populations remained healthy for future generations. They were guardians of their environment, recognizing the delicate balance of the ecosystem. This foresight was remarkable for its time, a quiet acknowledgement of sustainability. There was also a code of professional conduct among falconers themselves. Knowledge was often shared, but the unique bond with one's own bird was highly personal. Disputes were often resolved with quiet dignity, reflecting the serene nature of their shared passion. Competition was less about overt rivalry and more about the quiet demonstration of skill and the health of one's birds. Finally, the code emphasized patience. The training of a falcon, the daily care, the waiting for the opportune moment in the field, all demanded immense patience. This was not a pursuit for the impulsive or the restless. It was a discipline that taught quiet contemplation, a steady hand, and an unwavering commitment. You feel the profound quietude that patience brings, a stillness that allows you to observe, to understand, and to act with precision. This unwritten code, this subtle set of ethical guidelines, was deeply woven into the fabric of medieval falconry. It elevated the practice beyond mere hunting, transforming it into a meditative art form, a quiet dance between human and nature, guided by respect, understanding, and a profound appreciation for the intricate beauty of the wild. And as you feel the gentle tug of sleep, you understand that some of the deepest forms of wisdom are found not in loud declarations, but in the quiet, consistent practice of integrity. You're drifting deeper into the quiet world of medieval falconry, and now your focus shifts to the serene and functional spaces where these magnificent birds spent their resting hours, the mews. These weren't just cages. They were purpose-built sanctuaries designed with meticulous care to provide a calm, secure, and healthy environment for the falcons. You imagine stepping into one of these quiet enclosures, perhaps sensing the hushed reverence within. A mews was typically a well-constructed, often stone or timber building, sometimes attached to a castle or manor, but usually set slightly apart to ensure quiet. The interior was spacious, allowing the birds to move freely and stretch their wings without damaging their precious feathers. You envision smooth walls, perhaps whitewashed, ensuring cleanliness and reflecting any available light. The air inside would be clean and fresh, carefully managed to avoid drafts that could harm the delicate birds. The most prominent features within a mews were the perches. These weren't just simple rods. They were carefully designed to protect the falcon's feet and feathers. Often covered in soft material like felt or jute, they allowed the bird to grip comfortably without damaging its talons. Some perches were also circular, allowing the bird to turn freely without its tail feathers scraping against the wall. You picture a series of these perches, each occupied by a quiet hooded bird, patiently awaiting its next flight. The term mews itself originated from the medieval practice of keeping falcons there during their molting period, when they shed their old feathers and grew new ones. This was a critical time of vulnerability for the birds, requiring a safe and undisturbed environment. a quirky tidbit. Some elaborate medieval mews might even have had small, shallow pools of water for the falcons to bathe in, allowing them to keep their feathers in pristine condition naturally. Historians still argue whether the design of the mews was driven solely by practical considerations for the bird's health, or if there was a deeper aesthetic or symbolic importance placed on providing a regal residence for these prized creatures. But as you visualize it, you feel the quiet dedication that went into crafting such a space. Lighting in the mews was usually subdued. While natural light was important, direct harsh sunlight was often avoided. The aim was to create a consistent, peaceful environment that encouraged rest and minimized stress. You imagine the soft, filtered light perhaps from high windows or strategically placed vents casting a gentle glow on the resting birds. Cleanliness was paramount. Falconers were meticulous about keeping the mews spotless, regularly removing droppings and ensuring fresh water was always available. A clean environment was essential for preventing disease and maintaining the bird's overall health. This constant quiet work spoke of the immense value placed on these birds both as hunting partners and as symbols of their owner's prestige. Beyond the physical structure, the mews was a place of quiet observation for the falconer. It was where they would spend time simply being with their birds, watching their subtle behaviors, assessing their health and mood. This quiet communion fostered an even deeper understanding and bond between human and raptor. It's like a quiet meditation where simply being present with another living creature brings a sense of calm. The mews, then, was more than just a place to house falcons. It was a testament to the respect and profound care that defined medieval falconry. It was a space of serenity, where the wild spirit of the raptor was gently nurtured, allowing it to rest and prepare for its majestic flights. And as you feel the quiet of this ancient sanctuary, you sense yourself drawn into the peaceful stillness. You're now cradled in the quiet peace of the mews, and your attention shifts to the unwritten code that governed the subtle art of medieval falconry. This wasn't just a list of rules. It was a philosophy, a set of ethical considerations that guided every interaction between the falconer and their magnificent bird. It was about respecting the wild nature of the raptor, even as it was trained for partnership. You sense the profound moral compass that steered these ancient practices far removed from mere sport. At its heart, the code was one of respect for the bird. A true falconer understood that the bird was not a slave, but a partner. Force was rarely used, and harsh punishments were detrimental to the training process. Instead, patience, consistency, and a deep understanding of raptor psychology were paramount. The bond was built on trust, which, once broken, was incredibly difficult to mend. You imagine the falconers speaking to their bird in low, reassuring tones, always gentle, always predictable. Another crucial aspect was the ethical treatment of the quarry. While falconry was a form of hunting, it wasn't about wanton slaughter. The kill was swift and efficient, reflecting the natural predatory instincts of the falcon. There was often a sense of reverence for the life taken, a recognition of the cycle of predator and prey in the natural world. This was hunting as a precise, almost surgical art, not a chaotic melee. It's like a chef, respecting every ingredient that goes into a meal, understanding its source and journey. The practice of entering a young falcon, where it was first introduced to actual prey, was done with immense care, and often involved ensuring the initial kills were swift and successful, to build the bird's confidence and natural hunting drive. This wasn't just about training, but about fostering the bird's well-being and success. A quirky tidbit is that falconers would sometimes dedicate specific falcons to specific types of quarry understanding, that each bird might excel at hunting certain game, further reflecting this nuanced approach to hunting ethics. Historians still argue whether the medieval falconry code was primarily driven by practical considerations for successful hunting, or if it genuinely reflected a nascent form of animal welfare ethics. But you feel the quiet dignity of the interaction, a respect for the natural order. The code also encompassed the conservation of the wild stock. Responsible falconers understood the importance of not overhunting areas, ensuring that prey populations remained healthy for future generations. They were guardians of their environment, recognizing the delicate balance of the ecosystem. This foresight was remarkable, for its time a quiet acknowledgement of sustainability. There was also a code of professional conduct among falconers themselves. Knowledge was often shared, but the unique bond with one's own bird was highly personal. Disputes were often resolved with quiet dignity, reflecting the serene nature of their shared passion. Competition was less about overt rivalry and more about the quiet demonstration of skill and the health of one's birds. Finally, the code emphasized patience. The training of a falcon, the daily care, the waiting for the opportune moment in the field, all demanded immense patience. This was not a pursuit for the impulsive or the restless. It was a discipline that taught quiet contemplation a steady hand and an unwavering commitment. You feel the profound quietude that patience brings, a stillness that allows you to observe, to understand, and to act with precision. This unwritten code, this subtle set of ethical guidelines, was deeply woven into the fabric of medieval falconry. It elevated the practice beyond mere hunting, transforming it into a meditative art form, a quiet dance between human and nature, guided by respect, understanding, and a profound appreciation for the intricate beauty of the wild. And as you feel the gentle tug of sleep, you understand that some of the deepest forms of wisdom are found not in loud declarations, but in the quiet, consistent practice of integrity. You're now visualizing the majestic birds of prey, not just as hunters, but as integral parts of their natural world, and your mind drifts to the specific quarry and habitat that defined the subtle art of medieval falconry. This wasn't a universal hunting method for all environments. It was tailored to specific landscapes and the birds that inhabited them, emphasizing quiet observation and strategic engagement. You imagine the rustle of reeds in a marsh or the silence of an open plain. Different types of falcons were suited to different environments and different prey. For instance, the fast, high-flying peregrine falcons were primarily used for hunting game birds like partridges, pheasants, and ducks in open country. You picture vast, sweeping plains or sprawling wetlands where the peregrine had ample space to climb and stoop a silent arrow launched from the sky. The beauty of these hunts was in the aerial pursuit, the breathtaking speed, and the precise mid-air capture. For denser, more wooded areas, the goshawk was the preferred choice. As a short-winged hawk, it possessed the agility and burst of speed necessary to navigate through trees and undergrowth. Its quarry would typically be rabbits, hares, or even game birds flushed from thickets. You envision the hawk bursting from the falconer's glove, a blur of feathers, weaving through the branches, its movements silent and swift, a master of ambush in confined spaces. This required a different kind of quiet skill, a reliance on stealth and close-quarters precision, rather than expansive aerial displays. The falconer's understanding of the habitat was as crucial as their understanding of the bird. They knew which fields harbored which birds where rabbits might burrow, and how the wind currents would affect a falcon's flight. This knowledge was gained through countless hours of quiet observation, patiently learning the rhythms and secrets of the land. It's like a seasoned tracker who can read the subtle signs of nature with effortless ease. Mainstream historical fact. Medieval hunting parks and estates were often managed to provide suitable habitats for both game birds and rabbits, ensuring a steady supply of quarry for falconry. This demonstrated an early, albeit self-serving, form of wildlife management. A quirky tidbit is that falconers would sometimes use small, quiet dogs like spaniels to flush out game from cover, ensuring the falcon had a clear target without the need for loud human interference. Historians still argue whether the emphasis on hunting specific types of quarry was primarily due to the bird's natural aptitudes, or if it was also influenced by social prestige associated with certain game. But you feel the intricate dance between predator-prey and handler all moving within the defined boundaries of their natural world. The hunts were often conducted with minimal human noise. No shouting, no large retinues making a ruckus. The goal was to allow the falcon to perform its natural hunting behaviors, guided by the subtle cues of the falconer. This created an intimate, almost meditative experience, a deep connection to the wildness of the hunt. You hear only the rustle of leaves, the soft beating of wings, and perhaps the distant call of a wild bird. The choice of quarry also reflected the social status of the falconer. Larger, more prestigious birds like gyrfalcons were flown at larger, more challenging prey, often in open, windswept areas befitting a king. Smaller hawks, more suited to wooded environments, were accessible to a wider range of the gentry. This gentle distinction in quarry and habitat further underscored the subtle hierarchies of medieval falconry, a silent language understood by all who participated in this ancient art. And as you feel the quiet settling over you, you appreciate the deep connection between the hunter, the hunted, and the land itself, all part of a silent, enduring harmony. You're drifting deeper into the quiet rhythms of medieval falconry, your mind attuned to the specific landscapes and feathered hunters. And now, your thoughts turn to the individual whispers of history that bring this ancient art to life. Falconry wasn't just a generic practice. It was embraced by specific, often powerful individuals whose quiet passion for these birds left a mark on the historical record. You imagine their faces now etched with patience and focus, their gloved hands steady. One of the most renowned historical figures associated with falconry was Frederick II, Holy Roman Emperor in the 13th century. He was famously obsessed with falconry, even writing a comprehensive treatise titled De Arte Venandi cum Avibus, The Art of Hunting with Birds, which is still considered a masterpiece of ornithology and falconry. You picture him not just as a conqueror, but as a meticulous scholar, meticulously detailing the training, care, and behavior of birds of prey. His dedication wasn't just about sport. It was a scientific pursuit, a quiet quest for understanding. He was the kind of person who'd probably annotate his own dreams about bird anatomy. Another notable historical falconer was Genghis Khan. While known for his vast conquests, he and his Mongol armies were also expert falconers, often bringing their birds on campaigns. Falconry was not just leisure. It was a way to procure food on long marches and a means of maintaining discipline and connection to nature, amidst the chaos of war. You imagine the fierce warrior dismounting from his horse and with surprising gentleness handling a majestic eagle or gerfalcon. It's a striking contrast, isn't it? The quiet patience of falconry alongside the roar of battle. Mainstream historical fact. King Henry VIII of England was a keen falconer with extensive mews and a large staff dedicated to the sport. His passion for hunting extended to various forms, but falconry held a special place. A quirky tidbit during the medieval period, some falconers would carry special pouches of live sparrows or doves used to hack or train young falcons by allowing them to chase and catch live prey in a controlled environment. Historians still argue whether the popularity of falconry among rulers was primarily a practical hunting method for food, a display of wealth and power, or a genuine form of personal, spiritual connection to nature. But you sense the deep personal investment these powerful figures had in their feathered companions. Mary, Queen of Scots, also reportedly enjoyed falconry, a common pursuit for noblewomen of the era, who often flew smaller, more manageable birds like merlins or sparrowhawks. This highlights the inclusivity of the sport, extending beyond the male nobility. You picture her perhaps finding a quiet moment of peace in the Scottish Highlands, her small hawk soaring against the dramatic landscape. Even fictional figures often embody the falconer's quiet dignity, like the legendary Sir Gareth in Arthurian tales, who is often depicted with a falcon. These stories reflect the cultural esteem for the practice, a quiet acknowledgement of the bond between human and wild. These individuals, whether emperors or queens, found in falconry a unique blend of practical hunting, profound skill, and contemplative escape. It was a pursuit that demanded patience, a deep connection to the natural world, and a quiet respect for the wild spirit of the bird. Their stories, echoing through the centuries, remind us that true power can often be found, not in overt displays, but in the subtle art of quiet mastery. And as you drift further into sleep, you remember these quiet figures. Their hands outstretch their eyes to the sky, sharing a timeless bond with their feathered partners. You're now cradled in the quiet understanding of falconry's enduring appeal to historical figures, and your thoughts turn to the long, winding path of its decline and resurgence. This ancient art, seemingly immutable, quietly faded from widespread practice, only to experience a thoughtful, deliberate revival. It's a testament to its inherent value that it wasn't lost to time, but rather waited for a quiet moment to re-emerge. You feel the slow turning of historical tides like a gentle receding wave. The decline of medieval falconry wasn't a sudden dramatic event, but a gradual process influenced by several factors. Mainstream historical fact. The invention and increasing efficiency of firearms from the 16th century onwards played a significant role. Muskets and fowling pieces made it much easier and less time-consuming to acquire game than the demanding process of training and flying a falcon. This shift offered a more immediate return for less investment of time and skill. A quirky tidbit is that the shift also brought a change in the aesthetic of hunting, moving from the quiet, personal skill of falconry to the louder, more communal, and often more destructive pursuit of game with firearms. Historians still argue whether the decline was primarily driven by technological advancement or by changing social values that placed less emphasis on the traditional courtly arts. But you feel the quiet obsolescence of a once dominant art in the face of new invention. The changing landscape of Europe also played a part. as populations grew and land was increasingly converted to agriculture or urban development, the vast open spaces suitable for hawking became scarcer. The intricate dance of falcon and quarry needed room, and that room was slowly shrinking. You imagine the encroachment of farms and villages on once wild hunting grounds, a subtle squeezing out of a traditional way of life. However, falconry never truly died out. It retreated, perhaps into quieter corners, sustained by dedicated enthusiasts who cherished its ancient traditions and the profound bond it offered. It became less of a mainstream aristocratic sport and more of a specialized, almost academic pursuit. These were the quiet custodians of the art, keeping the flame alive. The resurgence of falconry in modern times is particularly interesting because it's not driven by practical necessity, but by a deep appreciation for its heritage and its unique connection to nature. It's a quiet revival, a deliberate choice to engage with an ancient art for its inherent beauty and challenge. You might imagine modern falconers still embodying the same patience and dedication as their medieval counterparts, but now often driven by conservation efforts and a desire to preserve the art form itself. Modern falconry is often deeply intertwined with conservation. Many falconers are actively involved in breeding programs for endangered raptor species, contributing to their survival in the wild. They are often ambassadors for raptor welfare, educating the public about these magnificent birds. This adds another layer of quiet purpose to the practice, moving it beyond mere hunting to active stewardship of the natural world. The practice today is also largely gentle and ethical. Falconers are highly regulated, requiring licenses and demonstrating extensive knowledge of raptor biology, training, and welfare. The emphasis remains on the bird's well-being, on building a strong, respectful partnership, and on conducting hunts that are both effective and humane. It's a far cry from any notion of exploitation. The quiet, meditative aspects of falconry continue to draw adherents. In a world often filled with noise and distraction, the focus and patience required to train and fly a raptor offer a unique form of peace and mindfulness. You feel that quiet satisfaction now, the profound concentration that comes from being fully present in a moment, watching a magnificent bird soar against the sky. The resurgence of falconry, you realize, is a testament to the enduring human need for quiet connection, for ancient wisdom, and for the profound beauty of a subtle art that teaches patience and respect for the natural world. You're enveloped in the gentle quiet of falconry's enduring legacy, sensing its subtle resurgence. And now, your thoughts turn to the profound lessons this ancient art offers in the art of observation. Falconry isn't about grand gestures. It's about meticulous attention, about reading the subtle language of the natural world and the quiet cues of a magnificent bird. It's a practice that teaches you to see, to listen, and to understand in a way that transcends mere sight and sound. You feel your own senses sharpening, drawn into the stillness. A falconer learns to read the sky with an almost intuitive understanding. You develop an eye for wind currents, for the subtle shifts in light that signal changes in weather, for the distant speck that might be a soaring raptor or a flushed game bird. This isn't theoretical knowledge. It's practical, lived observation honed over countless hours, spent patiently waiting, watching, and learning. You imagine looking up at the vast expanse, no longer seeing just blue, but a tapestry of invisible forces and potential encounters. It's like learning to read a complex book where every tiny detail holds meaning. Similarly, a falconer becomes a master of reading their bird. They learn the subtle shifts in posture that indicate alertness or fatigue, the minute changes in plumage that signal health, the unspoken moods conveyed through a twitch of the head or a shift of weight on the glove. This isn't just about training. It's about forming a deep, empathetic connection where silent understanding replaces the need for words. You feel the quiet communication flowing between handler and bird, a bond built on countless moments of shared presence. Mainstream historical fact. The meticulous record-keeping of medieval falconers detailing their birds' weights, feeding schedules, and hunting successes reflects their dedication to precise observation and data collection, long before modern scientific methods were formalized. This was a quiet, empirical approach to understanding animal behavior. A quirky tidbit: some very experienced falconers claimed they could even tell their birds' intentions by the subtle flexing of their talons on the glove, sensing their readiness to hunt. Historians still argue whether the falconer's deep knowledge stemmed primarily from direct observation or from inherited traditions passed down through generations. But you understand that both played a part, building on a foundation of quiet, persistent watchfulness. This intense focus on observation extends to the quarry and its habitat. The falconer develops an almost imperceptible ability to detect the presence of prey. A flicker of movement in the undergrowth, a disturbed patch of grass, a faint sound that most would miss. They learn the habits of their game, their escape routes, their favored hiding spots. This deep ecological understanding is born from quiet, patient study of the natural world. It's like becoming one with the environment, moving through it with a heightened awareness. The very act of falconry encourages a state of mindfulness. When you are flying a bird of prey, your attention is absolute. You are fully present in the moment, attuned to every shift in the wind, every movement of the bird, every sign of potential quarry. There is no room for distraction, no space for the worries of the past or the anxieties of the future. This immersive focus can be profoundly meditative, a quiet escape from the clamor of everyday life. You feel that focused presence, now a calm intensity that holds you firmly in the present moment. Ultimately, the art of observation in falconry teaches a profound respect for the intricacies of nature. It's a quiet reminder that the world is full of subtle wonders, if only we take the time to truly see them. It encourages patience, humility, and a deep appreciation for the delicate balance of life. This quiet wisdom, gained through countless hours under the open sky, watching and learning from these magnificent birds, is one of falconry's most enduring gifts. And as you feel the gentle pull of sleep, you embrace this quiet attention, allowing it to guide you to a deeper, more peaceful rest. You're now entirely enveloped in the quietude that medieval falconry inspires, feeling the gentle release of your own consciousness as you surrender to the profound calmness of the night. The lessons of patience, observation, and deep respect for the natural world cultivated through the art of the falconer now blend seamlessly with the soft descent into sleep. There's nothing left to do, no more thoughts to chase, just the comforting stillness. Let the last whispers of our journey fade like distant bird calls on the evening breeze. Imagine the gentle weight of a falcon's presence, not on your arm but in your mind, a symbol of disciplined grace. The quiet muse, the silent stoop of the peregrine, the unwritten code of respect. All these images dissolve into a soothing, tranquil haze. Your breathing deepens each inhale, a soft wave, each exhale a release into profound relaxation. Feel the quiet descent as if you are slowly lowering into a comfortable warm bed, perfectly molded to your form. All the small worries of the day, all the lingering thoughts gently float away like feathers carried on a light breeze. The world outside is distant, unimportant. Here in this peaceful darkness, you are safe, secure, and utterly at rest. Let the ancient rhythms of nature, the gentle patience of the falconer, and the quiet beauty of the wild sky guide you now. You are drifting effortlessly into the deepest, most peaceful sleep. End of script. Sweet dreams.